Sure, here's part 1, expanded into about 1,300 words, in simple and clear English. With an engaging style and no violated content, they had waited a long time to move into a quiet neighborhood. After many months of searching, the couple finally found a small house that felt just right. It was in a peaceful area with clean streets, nice neighbors, and green trees all around. The man and his wife were excited to start a new chapter in their lives here. The house was cozy, and the neighborhood looked safe. It was the perfect place for them to build new memories. The wife had a disability that made life harder for her. She used a wheelchair to move around because she could not walk well. She also had a special dog trained to help her every day. Dog could open doors, pick up things, and even alert others if she needed help. The man was always careful to make sure his wife was comfortable and safe. Together, they worked hard to live as normal a life as possible. When they first arrived, everything seemed peaceful. The neighbors smiled and said hello. Some stopped to chat, and the couple felt welcomed. But soon, they learned about the rules of the neighborhood. The area was controlled by a group called the Homeowners Association, or HOA for short. This group made rules about what people could and could not do in their own yards, on their cars, and even inside their homes. The HOA said these rules kept the neighborhood clean and beautiful. But many people found them very strict. One of the most important rules was that everyone had to join the HOA. Joining meant paying monthly fees and agreeing to follow all the HOA rules. The man and his wife read the HOA contract carefully. It was long and full of details. They understood that joining would cost them money every month. But more than that, they were worried about losing freedom. The wife especially did not want to be part of a group that might not understand her special needs. She feared that the rules would make her life harder, not easier. The wife talked to her husband about it. She said, "I don't want to join the HOA. I am afraid they will not be kind to me because of my disability. What if they say I cannot have my help dog or my wheelchair ramp? What if they tow my car or fine us for things we cannot control?" The man listened carefully and agreed that they should be cautious. They decided not to join the HOA at that time. At first, things were okay. The couple kept to themselves and did their best to follow the rules that did not feel unfair. Parked their wheelchair-accessible van in the driveway, made sure the yard was tidy, and used the ramps carefully. Their neighbors said hello, but did not talk much about the HOA. The wife enjoyed walking her dog slowly around the block, enjoying the fresh air and the quiet sounds of birds. However, the HOA was watching. The group sent letters to the couple's house. The letters said they had not joined the HOA and reminded them that everyone had to pay the fees. The letters also warned about fines and penalties if they did not comply. The man felt uneasy, did not want to cause trouble, but he also did not want to lose money they needed for medical bills and care. Ignored the letters, hoping the HOA would understand. One day, the wife went outside in her wheelchair, with her help dog by her side. She waved to a neighbor walking their child. The neighbor smiled warmly and said, "How are you today?" The wife smiled back and said, "Good, thank you. Just enjoying the fresh air." She did not want to talk about the HOA. She wanted to live peacefully. Suddenly, a few people from the HOA approached the wife's home. They looked serious. One of them said, "We are here to talk about your membership in the HOA. You must join and pay the fees like everyone else," the wife explained. Calmly, "I have a disability. I am not able to pay extra fees right now. I also need to keep my help dog with me. Some rules in the HOA might make my life difficult." The HOA representatives did not seem to listen. They said firmly, "The rules apply to everyone. You must join or face penalties." The wife felt sad and frustrated. She had hoped to be part of a community where she could live without fear. But now, it seemed the HOA wanted to punish her for her disability and choices. The man came outside to support his wife, said politely, "We want to follow the law and be good neighbors. But please understand her condition and help us find a way to make this easier." The HOA representatives just shook their heads and left. After this, the couple began to notice more signs of tension. Some neighbors stopped smiling. The HOA sent more letters and warnings. They said the wife's vehicle was parked illegally because she was not a member. The man and wife felt like they were being watched all the time. The wife tried to explain her needs to the HOA board. She wrote letters describing her disability, her medical condition, and how the fees were hard for them. She also explained the importance of her help dog and accessible vehicle. But the HOA was strict. They did not seem to care about her special situation. The man and wife began to feel lonely. Their hope for a quiet, friendly neighborhood was fading. But the wife was strong. She told her husband, "We cannot give up. We'll keep fighting for what is right." They started learning more about their rights as disabled people. They contacted local groups that helped people with disabilities stand up for themselves. Despite the challenges, the wife continued to enjoy the small things. She loved sitting in her wheelchair on the porch, feeling the sun on her face. She loved her dog, who was always loyal and loving. She found comfort in her husband's support in their small home. But the HOA's pressure kept growing. One day, they sent a final notice, warning that if the wife did not join the HOA soon, they would take action against her property. The man and wife worried. They wondered what action meant and how it would affect their life. They had no idea how far the HOA was willing to go. Would you like me to continue with part 2? Sure, here is part 2, expanded to about 1,300 words. In simple and clear English, with an engaging style and no violated content, the morning was calm and quiet, just like many others before it. The sun was rising slowly, casting soft light over the peaceful neighborhood. Birds chirped gently, and a light breeze moved the leaves on the trees. But for the wife and her husband, this morning would change everything. As the wife prepared to go out, she moved her wheelchair-accessible van carefully from the garage to the driveway. This van was very important to her. It was not just a car, it was her freedom. The van had a special ramp so she could get in and out easily with her wheelchair. It also had space for her help dog. Without this van, she could not go to the doctor, visit friends, or do simple errands. It was a lifeline. After parking the van in the driveway, the wife went inside to get ready for the day. She was planning to meet with a local group that helped disabled people. She hoped to find support and maybe learn how to handle the trouble with the HOA. Her husband was in the kitchen, making breakfast, when suddenly they heard loud noises outside. The wife looked out the window and saw 2 big trucks pulling up near their house. The trucks belonged to a towing company known for removing cars from driveways. Her heart sank. She rushed outside in her wheelchair with her help dog by her side. "What's going on?" she asked the men in the trucks. One of the workers said, "Your vehicle is being towed because you have not joined the HOA. We have orders to remove any unauthorized vehicles." The wife was shocked. "You can't tow my van. I need this vehicle. For my disability, it has a ramp for my wheelchair. Without it, I cannot leave the house." The workers just shook their heads. "We have orders. We don't decide. Please move away from the vehicle." The husband came outside quickly and tried to stop the towing. "Wait, please. My wife has a disability. This van is her only way to get around. Please don't take it." But the towing company workers were firm. They began to hook the van to the tow truck. Neighbors came out to see what was happening. Some looked confused. One neighbor said quietly, "Is this really fair? She has a disability. They can't do this to her." Another neighbor looked away, not wanting to get involved. The wife felt tears welling up. She looked at her husband and said, "This is wrong. They're ignoring everything we said." The husband called the HOA office to complain. He asked to speak with someone in charge. The person on the phone said, "The rules are clear. You must join the HOA and pay the fees. Till then, vehicles like yours can be towed." The couple was stunned. They'd never expected such harsh treatment. They knew the HOA was strict, but this felt cruel. The wife contacted a local disability rights group immediately. They listened to her story and promised to help. They said she had rights under the law to have reasonable accommodations for her disability. Towing her van without warning was wrong. While the couple worked to get legal advice, the van was already taken to a storage lot far from their home. The towing company said they would only release the van once the wife paid a large fee. The couple did not have that kind of money ready. The wife's mobility and independence were suddenly at risk. Without her van, even simple trips to the doctor or grocery store became impossible. The man felt helpless watching his wife struggle. With these challenges, days passed, and the couple tried to reach an agreement with the HOA. They sent letters explaining the wife's disability, and why towing her van was unfair. They asked for a solution that would respect her needs. But the HOA remained silent. No answer came. Meanwhile, the neighborhood began to talk. Some people sympathized with the couple. They believed the HOA had gone too far. Others stayed quiet. Afraid to upset the powerful association, the wife refused to give up. She met with the disability rights group and the local police to explain her situation. The police officers listened carefully and said they would watch to make sure the HOA did not break any laws. The wife also began attending neighborhood meetings. She wanted to speak up for herself and others who might face similar problems. But some HOA members whispered behind her back. They called her difficult and said she was causing trouble. One evening, the wife and her husband sat quietly in their living room. The wife said, "I never thought something like this would happen. I just wanted a peaceful place to live." Her husband held her hand and said, "We will get through this. We have to keep trying." But the stress was heavy. The couple faced bills for the towing fee, medical expenses, and legal advice. They worried about what the future held. Then, one afternoon, the wife got a call. The towing company said her van would be released only if she paid the full fee immediately. The man said, "We don't have that kind of money. What can we do?" The wife remembered something the disability group told her. She had the right to ask for help from the police if the HOA or towing company tried to take away her vehicle. Unfairly again? The couple decided to prepare for the next step. They contacted the local K-9 unit, a special police team with trained dogs for support. They hoped that the presence of the K-9 unit would make the HOA and towing company think twice before causing more harm. The wife knew this was not about fighting the neighbors. It was about standing up for her rights, her dignity, and her ability to live independently. She wanted to show that even when things seem unfair, you can find help and courage. As the sun set on that difficult week, the couple felt a little stronger. They had a plan. They would face the next challenge with support, knowing they were not alone. The neighborhood watched quietly, waiting to see what would happen next. Would you like me to continue with part 3? Here is part 3, expanded into about 1,300 words. In simple, clear English, engaging, free from any violated content. After the couple decided to involve the local police K-9 unit, things began to change in ways they did not expect. The wife felt a mix of hope and nervousness. She knew standing up to the HOA would not be easy, but having the support of the police made her feel stronger. One morning, wife and her husband prepared to face the HOA again. This time, they did not go alone. 2 officers from the police K-9 unit came with them. The officers were kind and professional. They brought their trained dogs, which were calm but alert. These dogs were trained to protect and help in difficult situations. The couple arrived at the HOA office where the board members were waiting. The tension in the room was clear. The HOA board had grown frustrated with the wife's refusal to join and pay the fees. They believed they had the right to enforce their rules strictly. The wife spoke clearly and calmly. She explained her disability, how the fees were difficult for her to pay, and how towing her van hurt her independence. She also told them about the help dog who was essential to her daily life. The police officers stood quietly nearby, their presence making the board members more serious. One of the officers spoke up. He said, "We are here to ensure that all parties respect the law. Under disability rights laws, reasonable accommodations must be made for residents with disabilities. Towing a vehicle used for disability without warning may violate those laws." The HOA board members exchanged glances. They had not expected this level of support for the wife. Some looked unsure. Others still seemed angry but realized that pushing harder could bring more trouble. The wife then made a clear request. She asked the HOA to stop threatening to tow her van and to work with her to find a solution. She wanted to join the community in a way that respected her needs. She offered to discuss a reduced fee or a payment plan that she could afford. After a long discussion, the HOA board agreed to pause towing actions for the time being. They promised to review their policies about residents with disabilities. Wife felt relief, but knew this was only the start of a longer fight. News about the wife's stand spread in the neighborhood. Some neighbors came forward to support her. They admired her courage and wanted to see fairness in their community. A small group of residents began to speak out against the strict HOA rules. They said the rules should not punish people with disabilities or those who could not afford the fees. At the same time, some HOA members remained unhappy. They whispered that the wife was causing trouble and that the rules should be followed strictly for everyone. But the growing support from neighbors gave the wife strength. The police K-9 officers also continued to check in with the wife and her husband. Their dogs, trained for protection and assistance, seemed to help calm tense moments. Sometimes, their simple presence stopped conflicts before they could start. Meanwhile, the wife continued meeting with disability rights groups and legal advisors. They helped her understand her rights and guided her on how to communicate with the HOA. She learned how to prepare documents and make formal requests for accommodation. The wife's determination inspired others. A few neighbors who also faced difficulties began sharing their stories. Some had health problems, others had financial struggles. Together they formed a small support group to discuss their concerns with the HOA. The HOA board agreed to hold a community meeting. The wife was invited to speak. This was a chance to share her experience and ask the board to consider changes in the rules. On the day of the meeting, the community room was filled with residents. Some came to support the wife, others to defend the HOA rules. The atmosphere was tense, but respectful. The wife spoke from the heart. She said, "I love this neighborhood. I want to be part of it. But the rules have made life very hard for me. My disability means I need special help, and the HOA must understand this. We need rules that are fair for everyone." Her words touched many people. Some nodded in agreement. The police officers from the K-9 unit were there as well, showing their support quietly. After the meeting, the HOA board promised to review the fees and rules for disabled residents. They agreed to create a committee to make recommendations. This was a small victory, but an important step. The wife and her husband felt hopeful. They knew they still had work to do, but the community was starting to listen. In the days that followed, the wife continued to face challenges. Some neighbors still avoided her, and some HOA members remained strict. With the support from friends, the police, and disability groups gave her courage. Her help dog remained by her side, a constant source of comfort and strength. Together, they faced each day with hope. The wife's story also reached local news outlets. Journalists came to hear her side and share her experience with a wider audience. Many people were inspired by her bravery and determination to stand up for her rights. The HOA, now under pressure from the community and the media, had to be more careful in how they treated residents with disabilities. They started working on new policies to be more fair and understanding. For the wife and her husband, life in the neighborhood was still difficult at times, but they no longer felt alone. They had found allies and supporters. The presence of the police K-9 unit remained important. Her dogs were not just protectors, but symbols of safety and respect. They showed that the law was on the side of fairness and kindness. The wife often thought about how far she had come. From feeling powerless and scared, she had grown into a strong voice for justice. She knew her fight was about more than just her van or her fees. It was about respect, dignity, and the right to live without fear. As the months passed, the wife and her husband continued to build a life in their home. They made new friends, helped neighbors in need, and stayed active. In the community, though challenges remained, they faced them together with hope and courage. Would you like me to continue with part 4? Certainly. Here's part 4, expanded to about 1,300 words. It's written in simple, clear English. It's engaging and free from any violated content. After the wife's story became more well-known in the neighborhood and local news, the community started to change. People began to talk about fairness and kindness in the way the HOA treated everyone. The wife's courage inspired many neighbors who had quietly suffered under the strict rules to speak up. Some shared their own stories of struggle, while others offered support and friendship. At first, Some neighbors were hesitant to get involved. They feared angering the powerful HOA board or causing more trouble in the peaceful community. But as they saw how unfair the situation was, more people began to realize that silence would not help anyone. They wanted to live in a neighborhood where everyone, no matter their health or finances, could feel safe and respected. The couple noticed these small changes. Some neighbors waved more often. Others stopped to say kind words or ask how they were doing. It felt like a slow but real shift toward kindness and understanding. The wife was grateful for these small acts of friendship. They gave her hope that the community could grow stronger together. The HOA board was feeling pressure too. The local news stories and the growing number of neighbors asking for change made some board members rethink their hard stance. A few of them wanted to soften the rules and find ways to support residents with special needs. But not everyone agreed. Inside the HOA meetings, there were many arguments. Some members wanted to keep the rules strict, saying it was important for keeping the neighborhood clean and orderly. They worried that changing the rules might cause chaos or unfair advantages. Others believed fairness meant making exceptions for people with disabilities or those struggling to pay fees. The wife was invited to attend several HOA meetings as a guest speaker. She shared her story honestly and kindly, speaking about the difficulties she faced and what she hoped the HOA could do to help. Her words touched many hearts. She spoke about the importance of respect, understanding, and working together to create a community that cared for all its members. Some HOA members listened carefully. They asked questions and seemed willing to learn. They promised to consider new policies that would protect disabled residents and offer payment options for those in need. The wife felt hopeful, but new promises needed to be followed by action. Meanwhile, the couple's friends and supporters from the neighborhood formed a small group. They organized meetings to discuss ideas for change. They wrote letters to the HOA board and collected signatures from residents, asking for new rules that would be fair and inclusive. The group also invited experts from disability rights organizations to speak with the HOA board and neighbors. These experts explained the laws that protected people with disabilities and how communities could make simple changes to support everyone. The HOA board agreed to form a special committee to review all rules related to fees, towing, and accommodations for disabled residents. The wife was asked to be part of this committee. She accepted gladly, ready to help make sure the new policies would truly protect people like her. While these changes were happening, the wife and her husband still faced challenges. Some neighbors were slow to accept the new ideas. A few whispered that the wife was making trouble or getting special treatment. These moments hurt, but the couple tried to stay strong. The wife reminded herself that change often takes time. She believed that by standing up and speaking out, she was helping not just herself, but many others who might face similar struggles in the future. Her help dog continued to be a loyal companion, giving her confidence and comfort. The dog's gentle presence often softened tense moments and reminded people that kindness mattered most. One day, the HOA held a community meeting to discuss the committee's proposals. The room was filled with neighbors eager to hear the changes. The wife spoke first, explaining why the changes were needed and how they would help people live better lives. The committee proposed several new rules, discounts, or payment plans for disabled residents, clear policies to prevent unfair towing, and better communication between the HOA and residents. They also suggested training for HOA staff to better understand and support people with disabilities. Many neighbors applauded the proposals. Some thanked the wife personally for her bravery and hard work. The atmosphere in the room felt hopeful and positive. After much discussion, the HOA board voted to accept the new policies. It was a victory for fairness and kindness. The wife and her husband felt relief and joy. Their fight had brought real change to the community. In the weeks that followed, the couple noticed improvements. HOA sent friendly reminders about the new rules. They worked closely with residents to make sure everyone understood their rights and responsibilities. The wife's van was no longer at risk of being towed unfairly. She could park it safely in her driveway without fear. The couple no longer received threatening letters or fines. Life became easier and more peaceful. The wife and her husband also became more involved in the community. They joined neighborhood events and helped organize gatherings. They made new friends who accepted and supported them. The wife often spoke to groups about her experience. She encouraged others to stand up for their rights and to work together for better communities. Her story became a symbol of hope and courage. The neighborhood began to feel like a true home. People cared for one another and looked out for those in need. The wife's battle with the HOA had sparked a movement toward kindness and fairness. Though the road had been difficult, the couple knew their efforts had made a difference. They were proud to be part of a community that was learning to be better for everyone. And so, life went on, filled with new friendships, respect, and the quiet joy of belonging. Would you like me to continue with Part 5? Here is Part 5, expanded to about 1,300 words. In simple, clear English, engaging, and free from any violated content. After months of struggle, meetings, and hard work, the couple finally saw a real change in their neighborhood. The fight against the strict HOA rules was not easy. It took patience, courage, and help from many people. But their story became an example of how one person's voice can make a difference. The wife and her husband felt a deep sense of relief. Their van, which had once been taken away, was now safe at home. There were no more threatening letters or warnings from the HOA. The neighborhood felt friendlier, and the community seemed to care more about each other. The HOA had changed its policies. They now offered payment plans and fee discounts for residents who had financial difficulties or disabilities. The rules about towing vehicles became clearer and fairer. They promised to work with residents instead of punishing them. This was a huge step forward. The wife was invited to help teach the HOA staff about disability rights and the importance of kindness. She spoke about her experience and what she hoped the community could learn. The staff listened carefully. Some even thanked her for opening their eyes. The couple's neighbors began to show more respect and kindness. People stopped by to say hello or offer help when needed. Some neighbors shared their own stories and friendships grew stronger. The wife felt a true sense of belonging at last. Her help dog remained a loyal friend and helper. Together, they went on walks and visits around the neighborhood. The dog was a reminder of the strength that kindness and support could bring. The wife and her husband also started to volunteer. They helped other people with disabilities in the community. They shared information about rights and how to handle difficult situations with groups like the HOA. They became leaders in their own quiet way. Local news outlets followed their story. Reporters praised the couple for standing up for fairness, an inspiring change. The wife often said she hoped their experience would help other neighborhoods be kinder and more understanding. The couple's life was not perfect, but it was better. They faced challenges, but now they had the support of their community and the law. They had learned that speaking up and asking for help could make a difference. The wife sometimes thought about the day their van was towed. It was painful too, remember, but it had also started a journey that changed everything. She was proud of the courage she found inside herself and grateful for the people who stood with her. The neighborhood, once quiet and tense, had become a place of hope and kindness. The HOA was not perfect, but it was learning to listen and care. The couple believed this was just the beginning of a better future. As they sat on their porch one evening, watching the sun set behind the trees, the wife smiled at her husband. "We made it through," she said softly. He took her hand and replied, "Yes, we did." Together. Their story showed that even when facing tough challenges, standing up for what is right can bring change. It is a reminder that kindness, understanding, and courage can build better communities where everyone belongs. If you want, I can help with any edits or continue with a related story.